So right now it takes about 10 times as much electricity to ask an artificial intelligence a complex question as it does to run just a simple traditional internet search.
Yeah, it's a wild metric to think about.
Right, 10 times the power just to generate a single response. And I mean, as millions of Americans hit the road this weekend looking up at fireworks for the 4th of July, the companies powering our digital future are quietly looking at their spreadsheets and, well, realizing they might not actually have enough physical electricity on the grid to keep the lights on.
It's kind of the ultimate paradox of where we are right now. We spent the last few years totally mesmerized by the software, by the magic of the algorithms, completely ignoring the massive physical engines required to actually run them.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today is Friday, July 3rd, 2026. The U.S. financial markets have paused for Independence Day. Out-of-office replies are on, and you listening are probably getting ready to unplug for a bit.
Hopefully, yeah.
But while the daily noise has paused, we are diving into an incredibly thick stack of sources today. It's headlined by the July 3rd edition of the Daily Tech Reader, plus some major reports from May and June.
There's a lot to get through.
There really is.
Yeah.
And our mission today is to cut through all that holiday weekend noise and uncover this defining silent shift happening in the 2026 economy. Because we're basically looking at a world transitioning from technology experimentation to aggressive, measurable execution.
Exactly. The era of technology as a flashy, unpredictable experiment is, well, it's officially over. We're now operating in a phase of, physical infrastructure.
Okay, let's unpack this, because looking through the tech and AI sections of our source material today, the tone has totally shifted.
Oh, completely.
Nobody is talking about foundation models as these mind-blowing magic tricks anymore. The phrase that just keeps jumping off the page is routine business infrastructure.
What's fascinating here is how that label, infrastructure, completely rewires the financial incentives of the entire tech industry. Well, for the last 3 years or so, foundation models were competing entirely on capability. It was an arms race of who had the smartest AI.
Right, like the one that could ace the bar exam or, write a symphony.
Exactly. But if you look at the enterprise data from the Daily Tech Reader, the metric has totally changed. Buyers don't care about the symphony anymore. They care about inference cost.
Meaning, what does it cost to actually run the thing every single time a user hits enter?
Precisely. If you're deploying an AI coding assistant to, say, 10,000 software engineers, you need it to be cheap, fast, and just relentlessly consistent.
So it's about the margins now.
Yeah. The sources note that investors are now ruthlessly favoring profitable AI models. It's no longer a game of potential. These coding assistants aren't being used to write novel, groundbreaking architectures from scratch.
Right.
They're scaffolding. They handle the boilerplate, the routine execution, so the human engineer can actually focus on the system design.
It's a very different vibe. I mean, I've been thinking about it like this. It's like we spent the last few years inventing the world's most advanced, high-performance electric sports car, and everyone was cheering as it did donuts in the parking lot.
That's a great way to put it.
But now we're trying to use that sports car to commute to work every day, and we're realizing the maintenance is just bankrupting us. Businesses are asking for a practical minivan.
A very smart minivan, but yes.
Right. And that's why multimodal AI, systems that seamlessly process text, audio, and visual data, it's just standard baked-in software now. But I do have to play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go ahead.
You're calling AI routine infrastructure, like a utility. But, if I turn on my kitchen faucet, I expect water to come out 100% of the time. The water doesn't suddenly hallucinate and dispense gasoline.
No, it does not.
So we have this massive headline from June 1st in our sources. Florida became the first state to officially sue OpenAI over ChatGPT safety failures. Now, obviously, we are just looking at the facts of the reporting here. We're not taking a stance on the politics of the lawsuit at all.
Right, just looking at the market signal.
Exactly. Just as a market signal, you don't sue the water company for being too creative. So if AI is still breaking, how can we actually call it routine infrastructure?
See, that lawsuit is actually the perfect proof that it is becoming infrastructure.
Wait, really? How?
Because when AI was just an experiment in a lab, a hallucination was, funny quirk you posted on social media.
Oh, right. Like when it told you to put glue on pizza.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when that same AI is integrated into a state government citizen services portal or a hospital's intake system, a hallucination isn't a quirk anymore. It is a catastrophic legal liability.
So the stakes are just infinitely higher now.
The stakes are existential for these organizations. And that explains the other major trend in the reporting, which is the absolute explosion of AI governance platforms.
Oh, yeah, the guardrails.
Right. Organizations are no longer just throwing money at the AI itself. They are investing massive capital into the compliance auditing and the safety filters. Reliability is the new competitive differentiator. Like if your model is 10% less creative but 100% more reliable, you win the enterprise contract.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because if we're truly treating AI like a public utility, it forces us to deal with the physical requirements of that utility. And that brings us back to that staggering statistic from the very beginning of our deep dive.
The electricity demand.
Yeah, to run these enterprise-level models at scale, the computing power required is just astronomical.
And computing power is really just a sanitized term for electricity. The digital world is violently colliding with the physical world right now.
It really is.
The energy sector reports in the daily tech reader are showing that AI data centers are single-handedly blowing up long-term utility planning. We're seeing electricity demand forecasts just continually being revised upward.
And timing is everything, right? Because we're sitting here in early July, and the sources emphasize that severe summer heat is currently challenging power grids across multiple regions.
Yeah, the heat waves are a huge factor.
It's almost painful irony for you listening. We have built these incredible digital brains capable of parsing genomic data and predicting weather patterns. But our ultimate bottleneck is 20th century copper wiring and keeping the server farm air conditioners running during a heat wave.
It is a profound engineering bottleneck. I mean, you can scale software infinitely, but you cannot scale a physical transmission line infinitely. It takes years to permit and build a new power substation.
Right, there's red tape, construction, everything.
Exactly. And these data centers don't just need a little extra juice, they need what the industry calls baseload power.
Break that down for the listener. Why is baseload power different from just, throwing some solar panels on the roof of the data center?
Well, intermittent power, like wind and solar, is great when the sun is shining or the wind is blowing. But a massive enterprise AI model is processing data 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
It never sleeps.
Right. It requires a massive, unyielding floor of electricity, and that is baseload power. This is why our sources show such a dramatic pivot in energy policy right now.
Grid modernization, right.
Grid modernization and massive battery storage deployments are surging to capture and store that renewable energy. But even more significantly, nuclear energy is receiving serious, sustained policy attention and investment right now.
Because it's consistent.
Because it provides massive zero-carbon baseload power.
But building a nuclear plant or upgrading thousands of miles of grid transmission lines isn't just a matter of writing a check. You need raw materials. You need transformers, specialized steel, copper, lithium.
You need hardware.
Right. You need a massive influx of physical hardware, which means you are entirely at the mercy of the global supply chain.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you cannot separate the U.S. technology sector from global geopolitics. Our domestic push for semiconductor manufacturing, which is seeing massive capital investment, by the way, still requires rare earth minerals and international cooperation.
It doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Exactly. And if we look at the geopolitical map for the second half of 2026, it is a very complex web of heavy friction and sudden relief.
Let's start with the friction because it's impossible to ignore. The sources note that Ukraine and Russia are continuing to exchange long-range attacks, keeping European security on edge, which NATO is monitoring very closely.
It's a very tense situation.
It is. We also have climate events compounding this. Extreme heat in Europe is currently threatening agricultural outputs, which disrupts supply chains even further. And you can see this anxiety priced directly into the financial markets.
Yeah, the gold prices are a clear indicator.
Exactly. Gold is traditionally a safe haven asset, and it's heavily reflecting this geopolitical caution right now. While Bitcoin, is trading pretty near its recent ranges.
It's a fragile system for sure. But there is a crucial counterweight to that tension, specifically regarding global commerce. Look at the major breakthrough reported on May 31st.
Oh, the U.S. and Iran talk.
Yeah. U.S. and Iranian officials reached a tentative diplomatic agreement regarding the Strait of Hormuz.
So for those who might not follow maritime shipping routes closely, why does a tentative agreement in the Middle East matter to an AI data center in, Texas?
Because the Strait of Hormuz is one of the most critical choke points for the global oil supply. When there's conflict there, commercial shipping freezes, oil prices spike, and inflation skyrockets.
And inflation hits everything.
Right. When inflation skyrockets, central banks raise interest rates, making it incredibly expensive for tech companies to borrow the billions of dollars they need to build those new data centers.
Ah, I see.
So this diplomatic breakthrough is a massive relief valve. It's keeping oil prices stable heading into this holiday weekend, keeping shipping lanes open, and indirectly ensuring that capital flows for our digital infrastructure.
It is wild how directly connected the physical world is to the virtual one. But reading through these reports, there is one headline from June 2nd that just stopped me in my tracks regarding this whole physical versus digital divide.
Oh, the tunnel?
Yes. Federal authorities uncovered a 2,000-foot drug smuggling tunnel connecting Mexico directly to the U.S.
That is quite the juxtaposition against AI and quantum computing.
Right, because it perfectly illustrates the paradox we are living in. We've created a global economy where billions of data points travel across the world frictionlessly in milliseconds, and AI in Tokyo can write code for a server in London instantly.
But the physical world still exists.
Yes. Simultaneously, human beings are manually digging a half-mile hole in the dirt to move physical goods across a geographical border. The contrast is just staggering. Our digital economy wants to be borderless, but the physical resources required to run it, the copper, the labor, the security, they are fiercely bound by geography and borders.
It really highlights that while software might eat the world, it still had to digest it in the physical realm.
That's a great point.
However, despite all of this friction, the stress power grids, the complex supply chains, the geopolitical tightropes, the stabilization of the tech sector into this execution phase is actually fueling some of the most optimistic leaps in applied science we have seen in decades.
And this is the payoff, right? If we can keep the lights on, what is all this computational power actually doing for us in 2026?
It is fundamentally accelerating the scientific method. Let's look at healthcare, which is arguably seeing the most immediate impact. The Daily Tech Reader heavily features the advancement of AI-assisted drug discovery. And it's important to understand the mechanism here.
Yeah, how does that actually work? Because AI drug discovery, it kind of sounds like a buzzword.
I know, it does. But historically, finding a new therapeutic compound required physical trial and error. A scientist mixes compounds in a lab, tests them, fails, and tries again.
Very slow.
It's a process that takes years and billions of dollars. Today, AI models can digitally simulate the molecular docking of millions of compounds in an afternoon. They don't just guess. They predict how a protein will fold and how a drug will bind to it with incredible accuracy. They filter 10,000 physical experiments down to the 10 most likely to succeed before anyone ever picks up a test tube.
That is unbelievable. You are compressing decades of foundational research into weeks.
Exactly.
And it's not just in the lab, right? The reports show that AI-assisted diagnostics are expanding rapidly in hospitals. Doctors are using these tools to identify anomalies in medical imaging far earlier than the human eye could ever catch them.
Yeah, the early detection rates are amazing.
And remote patient monitoring is scaling up. And precision medicine, tailoring a specific treatment to your unique genomics is making steady progress, particularly in cancer research.
And the acceleration isn't limited to biology either. In physics, quantum computing research continues to hit new milestones.
Right.
The massive data analysis capabilities of AI are being applied to fusion energy research. We're even seeing an expansion in climate monitoring satellites, which is vital for adapting our agriculture to the heat waves we discussed earlier.
Even space exploration is riding this wave of applied science. NASA is actively prepping the Artemis mission hardware, and long-term planning for Mars exploration is proceeding alongside a very healthy commercial space sector.
It's an exciting time.
It is, but hearing all of this, AI designing drugs, AI coding software, AI optimizing supply chains, I have to ask the question that is just on everyone's mind.
The job question.
Yeah. If AI is automating the knowledge work, what exactly is the human worker supposed to do? Are we engineering ourselves into irrelevance?
That anxiety is everywhere, obviously. But the workforce data from 2026 actually paints a very clear and surprisingly optimistic picture.
Really?
Yeah. The key takeaway from the enterprise reports is that human oversight is not being phased out. It is being elevated. AI is automating tasks, but it's not replacing the orchestration of those tasks.
So to use an analogy, the AI becomes the camera and the lighting rig, but the human is still the director.
Exactly. That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
You're moving from being the one writing every single line of code or drafting every email to being the editor and the auditor.
Overseeing it.
Right. Which means the skill sets are changing. The fastest growing workforce competencies right now are AI literacy, prompt architecture, and AI compliance auditing. Employers aren't firing their knowledge workers, they're transitioning to skills-based hiring. They want to know if you can wield these new tools effectively.
But that places a massive burden on the individual, doesn't it? I mean, the reports emphasize that continuous learning is now the ultimate competitive advantage. You can't just get your degree and coast for 20 years anymore. You have to constantly update your own mental operating system just to keep pace with the software.
It is mentally exhausting for sure. The workforce is having to modernize just as fast as the technology. And while hiring in cybersecurity and technology implementation remains incredibly resilient, the expectation of measurable productivity from every single employee is higher than ever.
And honestly, looking at it through that lens, it makes total sense why the culture section of our source material reads the way it does.
Oh, absolutely.
If you spend your entire week acting as a high-efficiency auditor for an AI model, constantly optimizing and upskilling, your brain eventually just hits a wall. You don't want to optimize anymore. You want to completely disconnect.
Which brings us back to this 4th of July weekend. Despite living in the most hyper-connected digital economy in human history, the cultural trends right now are fiercely physical and communal.
Yeah, look at what people are actually doing. Millions are gathering in parks for local fireworks displays. The summer movie season is seeing massive crowds in actual physical theaters. Live entertainment attendance is incredibly strong.
Podcasts are booming.
Is
The creator economy is massive.
Right. And globally, the entire world is glued to the knockout stages of the World Cup.
It proves a fundamental point about human psychology, I think. The tech industry is trying to weave AI into creative fields. I mean, the music industry is currently wrestling with AI production tools, and streaming algorithms are fighting for our attention.
Yeah, everywhere you look.
But edge computing and virtual reality cannot replicate the visceral, electric feeling of sitting in a stadium with 60,000 other people watching a live football match, or feeling the thump of a firework in your chest surrounded by your neighbors.
It's almost like a rubber band effect. The deeper we are pushed into this hyper-efficient virtual work environment, the harder we snap back to the tangible, messy, loud physical world when we get time off. Technology is becoming our infrastructure, but it clearly isn't replacing our culture.
No, not at all.
So what does this all mean? If we synthesize everything we've pulled from this deep dive into the 2026 landscape, we are no longer waiting for the future to arrive with a flashy keynote presentation. The future is here, and it looks a lot like utility maintenance.
We really do.
The defining themes of our time are massive infrastructure investment, grid modernization, and a workforce desperately trying to upskill. We have integrated AI into the foundation of our economy to accelerate everything from drug discovery to software development. But in doing so, we've chained our limitless digital potential directly to the hard physical realities of powering grids, copper wire, and global diplomacy.
This raises an important question. We have spent this entire deep dive exploring how AI went from a magic trick to a utility, and how that utility is now demanding just unimaginable amounts of electricity.
The air conditioner bottleneck, basically.
Right. So as you log off for the holiday, I want you to consider this. For the last 50 years, human technological progress was capped only by our imagination and our ability to write better code. But looking at the data today, are we approaching a near future where our progress is fundamentally hard-capped by the physical limits of planet Earth to generate enough electricity?
Wow.
Have we built an infinite digital brain only to realize we don't have enough physical juice to keep it awake?
That is a staggering thought. The software might be infinite, but the physics are not. It's a brilliant puzzle to chew on over the long weekend. We hope this deep dive has helped you cut through the holiday noise and given you a much sharper understanding of the invisible gears turning the 2026 economy. From both of us, stay curious, keep asking the hard questions, and have a fantastic, restful, and safe Independence Day weekend. We will catch you on the next deep dive.